Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nyambura and this is 100 on Books. Today I am in cold Nairobi. It is after all mid-June, which is traditionally a cold time, and I'm here with the media book freakout tag. Pew pew pew. I was going to do this today and then I went on YouTube, and who had tagged me? Sean from Sean the Book Maniac. Thanks for tagging me, Sean. So now I had to do it. So let's get into it. I have my trusty notebook here, and I'm just going to read out the questions. I'll try to be fast. We all know how I love to talk, but anyway. First prompt is best book you've read so far in 2022. Two books for me. The first is The Love Songs of W.E.B. Du Bois by Honoré Fanon Jeffers. Sorry, I read it for the BookTube prize for the octofinals, and I talked at length about it in my rankings video, so I'm going to link it below so you can see my thoughts. And the other is The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Ogawa and translated by Stephen Snyder. This book is so sweet. It's such a quiet novel, as my friend Raul calls it. I'll post Raul's Goodreads review downstairs, and I think that's part of the reason I picked it up. Between Raul and Dawn, both of them really loved the book, and I was like, oh, let me pick it up because I enjoyed The Memory Police, and it's just really beautiful, and one of those times where you read a book and it really just celebrates what it means to have relationships, to be kind to each other, and all of that. And yeah, I enjoyed every moment of it, to be honest. I'm just going to move my camera for a little bit. Okay, what's next? Next is the best sequel you read so far in 2022. I generally don't read books in a series. One more time. Okay. I generally don't read books in series, so I'm just going to skip over this one. The next is a new release you haven't read yet but want to, and the list is not short. I don't know if you can see it. It's long. I'm just going to I'm going to try and go over it quickly. The first is Things They Lost by Okwiri. I actually have a copy. Pause. I'll be right back. I'm back. I got my copy yesterday. I only seem to go to town, by which I mean the Nairobi Central Business District, the CBD, Nairobi Central Business District. Yes, once in a very long time. So this had been sitting in my PO box for a bit. Not even in the box, but it had been at the post office for a bit. And this is the UK edition of Things They Lost by Okwiri, which is described as a combination of mystery and magic, and tells the story of a lonely girl living in a small African town and her struggle to free herself from her mercurial, charming mother. And it's set at the intersection of the spirit world and the human one. It's said to unfold the dizzying dualities of love at its most intoxicating and all-encompassing. I got this description from Brittle Paper. So of the books that I'm anticipating, or with new releases, most if not all of the descriptions come from LitHub, the LitHub anticipated releases list, or the Brittle Paper anticipated releases list, both of which I will put downstairs. The other one is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. I had thought I would be able to listen to it or read it during this month because it's Read Caribbean month. I don't know if I'll be able to, but anyway, it's a debut novel featuring two estranged siblings whose mother leaves them like a bunch of secrets, basically. So then they go on this journey of discovery that involves black cake, hence the title. Then the other one is If an Egyptian Cannot Speak English by Noor Naga, which is set in the aftermath of the Arab Spring. It features an Egyptian American woman and a man from the village of Shobrahit, who meet at a cafe in Cairo. He was a photographer of the revolution. She's a nostalgic daughter of immigrants. They fall in love. Hijinks ensue. The other one is Akweke Emezi's latest book, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty. The description here is Faye Adekola wants to learn how to be alive again. She isn't ready for anything serious, but a steamy encounter at a rooftop party cascades into a whirlwind summer she could never have imagined, and so on and so forth. Then The other book is Sex and the Single Woman, 24 Writers Reimagine, Ellen Gully Brown's cult classic, which is edited by Eliza Smith and Haley Swanson. And the reason I found out about this book was because Morgan Parker wrote an essay, or her essay was accepted in Elle, and it's called Confessions of a Perpetually Single Woman. I read that on a morning in my bed, and I was like, when I found out it was from a book, I really now want to read the book, and it's on hold at the library. Actually, all these books are on hold at the library. This I had borrowed, and I was planning on starting to read it yesterday. Yesterday was the 18th, today is the 19th. It's Juneteenth! Happy Juneteenth to those who mark the day, even after the fact. And so I returned it because now I have a physical book, although I've also borrowed the audiobook, and the plan is to listen to the audiobook while I read the physical copy. And lastly, second last, Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century, which by Kim Fu. Dawn loved this book and so highly recommended it. I've really not even bothered to go and read deeper into it, just I'm going in. And lastly, The Swimmers by Julia Tsuka. I've seen quite a number of positive reviews of the book, or people who are really looking forward to the book, and Tracy Thomas from the Starks podcast talked on Goodreads about how much she loved this. It's about a group of like red obsessed recreation swimmers, and then there's a crack at the bottom of the pool where they usually go. And for one of the swimmers, Alice, who's like experiencing dementia and so on, her life sort of starts to unravel because this is a core part of her life. And yeah, now it's no longer there. And as a person who loves routine, not that I follow it like strictly, but like I love the stability that routine offers. This book is really appealing on that level. Right, so now that's the end of prompt 3. Prompt 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I have 3 books for this. Night of the Living Rez by Morgan Talty, which is a collection of stories set in a native community in Maine in the US, which grapples with complicated inheritances with tenderness and humor, and with characters ranging from a boy who finds an old cast in a jar to a grandmother struggling with Alzheimer's. So I'm with it. The other one is Life Ceremony by Sayaka Murata, translated by Ginny Tapley Takemori, and it's her first translated collection of stories. Her books are weird, okay? Like, I really enjoyed Convenience Store Woman. Earthlings weirded me out properly, so I cannot wait for this, just, to rack them up. And lastly, Diary of a Void by Emi Yagi, translated by David Boyd and Lucy North. This features a character who gets a job, and to avoid menial work, she decides to pretend she's pregnant. Hijinks ensue. Right, question 5. What was the biggest disappointment this year? 7 Days in the Art World by Sarah Thornton and read by Tavia Gilbert. I went in with such high expectations, and worse, I'd had the book for a while. I borrowed it from my friend Rosie Olan, who I'll put a link to some of her work downstairs because she's really brilliant. And yeah, I mean, it's an okay book, and I feel like it would probably have been a good book if I'd read it at some point in the past, but not where I am right now. It is what it is, Biggest surprise, When We Were Birds by Anna Lloyd Barno, which is also a Caribbean book. This is the second Caribbean book I'm talking about. At least the second book I know to be Caribbean that I'm talking about. So this features 2 characters, Darwin and Yejide, and their lives are intertwined. And Darwin is a grave digger. Yejide's mother's life is coming to an end, and so she now has this inheritance she's taking up, and this is sort of where their connection comes in. It's not usually the sort of book I go in for. It has a lot of magical realism, and I'm known to struggle with magical realism, but this book goes, okay? It goes. 7, favorite new author debut or new to you? That would have to be Hadija Abdallah Bajaber, the author of The House of Rust, which I discussed with Sean, who tagged me in an episode of his bite-sized book chats. I'll put the link downstairs. This book was another magical realism book. Again, I don't usually go in for this sort of book, but it was so engaging, so engrossing. It's Pride Month. It has a sapphic element like through it, and I enjoyed every moment of it, to be honest, and I can't wait for more of her books. Hadija Abdallah Bajaber and Noor Naga won the same prize, the Graywolf African Fiction Prize. So maybe that's a prize for you to look out for if you're the sort of person who uses prizes as a means of, say, like curating books to read, because apparently they don't miss. Next is newest fictional crush. This is question 8. No comment. Actually, like, there's no, maybe partly because I've not read any romance or any book that's been like that has hit that spot, but I don't really have a question for this answer. The next one is my newest favorite character. That would be Moskap from A Sound for the World Built by Becky Chambers and read by Emmett Grossland. I really enjoyed this really short book, and Moskap is so curious, very childlike, to be honest, and yeah, really sweet, to be honest. I loved it. He's a new fave. Next, a book that made you cry. I wouldn't go so far as to say it made me cry, but it made me feel like very strong and not necessarily like rah feelings. And this was Abundance by Jacob Gwanzon and read by George Newburn. I listened to it earlier this year, and just the way the book progresses can really make you sad, like to see a person's life unraveling. Now but in terms of the way it's written and the way the issue at the heart of it, which is money, really, how having or not having money can really change the course of one's life, even over a weekend or a month or a year or something, is really well wrought. Question 11. A book that made you happy. And that would be Charming as a Verb by Ben Philip and read by James Fuhi. This is a book about a kid who is running a dog walking business so that he can be able to, raise some money and prep for what he hopes will be his time at Columbia University. I hope I'm saying it right. And how a classmate of his finds out about this business of his and changes some of the questions he's been asking himself, really forces him to rethink his life. And for me, it was really sweet to see a YA novel that tackles class and those big decisions that especially American teens seem to have, because where I come from in Kenya, we don't choose universities in the way that Americans do, with like sending out applications and having to write essays and all of that stuff. So that's always a different experience for me. I know of it because I've been consuming American media for many years, but it's not a similar experience. But it made me happy because it just showed up like the power of friendship and the power of like showing up for each other, and the space in which, like, creating space within one's friendships to ask some tough questions, but also to have fun and to experiment and to give each other opportunities. It made me feel really warm inside. The most beautiful book I've bought so far this year or received, so I'd have to say When We Were Birds by Anna Lloyd Barnwell. Look at this cover. Just look at it. This was an ARC which I received. I received the finished copy from the publisher, and it was just so lovely. Like, I gave it to my friend Gatweri. I'm going to post a link to her profile downstairs because, like, she's just good vibes overall. And yeah, just on a very physical level, it's such a beauty. Last question. Whoop whoop. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Definitely all the books I'm anticipating, and all the books which have been released which I have not read. I need to read them, and thankfully most of them are books which are already in my holds and so on, so I'll tackle my holds list. And the other one, which I had not mentioned yet, is Tomb of Sun by Gitanjali Shri, translated by Daisy Rockwell, which was this year's International Booker Prize winner. It just sounds so interesting, and yeah, definitely want to pick it up. That's it. Pew, pew, pew. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and all the good things. And I'll be seeing you soon. Bye. Oh, I almost forgot. I am not tagging anybody explicitly, but if you want to do this, consider yourself tagged. Okay, then. Bye.